I got on a roll Friday and I made that Jamie Johnson video, and I just got all happy about Jamie and fired up about the video and decided to go ahead and make this one the same day, so I got on the same shirt. When you're seeing this, I got on a different shirt and I've had a couple of showers, so don't worry about me too much. I told you in that last video I was going to give you some things, and I gave you Jamie Johnson in that last video. Well, I hope you've enjoyed him since you discovered him if you hadn't known of him before. And I intended to give you this second part, and I'm still not sure what this second part's going to be. Had an idea for it earlier, but I'm going to start and go somewhere, and we'll see where it goes. I want to tell you the first thing, that my God is big. I mean really big. Then I'm going to stop and go somewhere else, and then I'm going to come back there. So my God's big, and we're going to come back there. Next thing I'm going to say is life is hard. Life is difficult. Life is complicated, and it's a struggle. And it says on my shirt here, hard times. I think, yeah, hard times is over behind me. And I'm the hard times guy, and I have a hard times channel, and all that's a little bit misleading because I haven't really had hard times. No more than anybody else. Life's hard for everybody. And things are complicated for everybody, and everybody has trouble in their life. And everybody has things to deal with that's difficult for them. Uncomfortable at the very least, and painful at the worst. So, although I'm the hard times guy, I can't claim to be someone who's had a life experience that's been mostly hard times. I've been blessed. I mean, I've really been blessed. Some of you know that Betty and I started out, we got married when we were 16 years old. I was almost 17. Lacked about a month. She lacked about 10 months. We were 16. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that today? I got grandkids. I got one granddaughter. I think she's 16. She might be 17. I can't think about her even being married, and not just married, but on her own, making way in life for herself. But it can happen. It did happen. Happened to Betty and I. Not that we never had any help. We had some help, mostly in the form of a loan. There was a time or two or three that we borrowed money from her parents. Her dad loaned us some money. I think the biggest loan he ever made us was like $50. And it just killed me to borrow that from him. And I couldn't wait to get it paid back. We've been blessed. Now I want to go back to something I've already given you in some video a long time ago, more than once, probably 2 or 3, 4 times. My creed, where I say, play hard, work diligently, and love unconditionally. And I don't know whether every time I ever told you that I went here, but I know I did at least once, and I'm going to do it again right now. I'm going to tell you that that's how life is. And I want you, if you're someone I love, I want you to live life like it's a big, major competition whose outcome means something. That's how you should live your life. Trying to be the best you can. Trying to create the best you can for those that depend on you and those that you're responsible for. Striving to be better every day than you were yesterday. Every year than you were last year. Until life's over for you. That's how I think we should approach life. There is no safe place. There is no comfortable place. See, we want to live lives, and I'm going to talk about this one of these days. I'm going to talk about it a little bit right now, but one of these days I'm going to talk about it a whole lot. There is no comfortable place that we can stay. We want to stay in this zone that's comfortable for us. We don't want to do things that we don't like to do. We don't want to do things that are hard for us. We want to get in that little place where we're familiar with everything and we like everything and everything's smooth and easy and good, and that's where we like to live. Can't do that. Not only can you not do it, you just think you want to. You don't really want to do that. You don't want to live in a comfortable place because that place is so small and so restraining, and it keeps you from experiencing so much. So what we need to do is constantly strive to stretch our comfort zone. We have to. We have to become comfortable with this, and then comfortable with this, and familiar and comfortable with this. And there's things on a continual basis that enter our lives which are hard, and we can't just avoid them. We have to confront them, because we're never going to be anything if we don't confront them, if we don't expand and improve and broaden and get bigger. There is no safe place. There is no life that's fair. There are nothing worthwhile that's easy and comfortable. So I want you to grasp that, and that's what I'm bringing to you today, and at least that's the challenge that I'm putting in front of you, the reason for what I'm really bringing you today. And now I'm going to go back there to my God is big. Now I could tell you that that's pretty much common knowledge in the world. God's big. To people that believe there is a God, and that's the next thing I'm going to tell you. There is a God. I believe it's the God of the Bible. But that's the best I've been able to come up with. The search, the want to that I have that needs to know there's something bigger than me that's in control, comes up with the God of the Bible. And I wish I could just sit down or get back there at that chalkboard and start putting numbers up there and present an argument for you that would prove that what I'm telling you there is true, but that's impossible. Can't happen. Can't happen either. Because even the Bible tells us that you can't do that. It takes faith. It's going to take some faith, and faith means you got to believe it without it being proven to you. It takes faith to please God. And I've been going to church and hearing about God, most of my life. My mother was a Christian woman. My grandmother on my mother's side, same thing. I went to church with them when I was just a little boy. And when I got to be 16 or 17 years old, I got smarter than them and knew so much more than them I didn't need to go to church anymore. And I got away from it for a while. I was probably 30 before I come back totally where I needed to be. And I say totally, and that's not true either. Those of you who know me personally know that I'm about as pitiful example of somebody telling you that I believe there's a God and He's the God of the Bible, and I know my Redeemer lives, and He's Jesus Christ, and all that goes with Christianity. And people that don't look at that, they say, wow, that guy's telling us this. And I puzzled with that myself for a long time. My Aunt Colleen put me on the closer to the path probably than anybody, and she's a person that I don't know whether there was a time that she went to church or not. I don't know of her ever being a regular attendee of church. And she had some habits that people would look at and say, you know what? That woman's not a religious woman, and religious is nothing. But that woman doesn't have a relationship with God, but I can tell you she did. And she knew things that I didn't know. In fact, she sat right close to me, closest where I'm at to where that camera's at, and I can almost touch it. She said, Luke, I know you're a smart boy. And she pointed at my mom. My mom was sitting over there. My mom had dementia, at least, Alzheimer's maybe, I don't know. But she didn't, towards the end of her life, she didn't always know what was going on around her. And you couldn't have a conversation with her about, you could talk to her about something 60 years ago. She might remember something pretty accurately. But you couldn't talk to her about 5 minutes ago. Or what was going to happen after a while. Or who this was or who that was. She didn't know. We were in Aunt Colleen's trailer after she downsized to a trailer. She had Mom over there, and I went by. Maybe to pick Mom up and take her back to the... I don't know why I was there, but I was there. She said, I know you're a smart boy. And she said, your mom was always smart, and she was not near as damn smart as she thought she was, but she was smart. She said, both of you missed out on something when it comes to God. God's big. She said, He's bigger than either one of you ever allowed Him to be. And that got me thinking about it. And I've been thinking about it ever since. I began to understand what she was saying. I'm still not there, but I know God's bigger than I can imagine Him being. I know He's capable of things I don't even know exist. The Bible tells us that in so many words, but we've wore it down and wore it out and walled it around so much, man has, over time, that it seems more like a slogan sometimes than a word that grabs you and shakes you when we read some of those verses that tell us how big God is and what God can do. We just kind of take it for granted and take Him for granted. So I want you to think about that. I said one time at the poker game, I play poker. Another one of those things that you're saying, what's a guy that's talking to me about God doing playing poker? Well, I'm not going to try to justify that to you or even explain it to you. I'm just going to tell you I was playing poker. And among the guys that plays poker with us, one of them's an attorney. And let me tell you something about attorneys. Don't try to argue with them. They went to school for, I don't know, at least 4 years, maybe 5 or 6. You know what they were learning? You say the law? No, they weren't learning the law. They were learning how to argue. That's what attorneys do. I guess they know the law too. It's necessary that they know the law, but they don't. It doesn't matter which side of the law they're on. You know, attorneys, there's a issue about the law, and it doesn't have to be a criminal trial with a person. It can be any issue about the law. But say it's a trial with somebody. There's somebody he's accused of beating his girlfriend to death with a claw hammer. And there's a lawyer representing the state, and he's trying to tell you why that person is guilty for beating his girlfriend to death with a claw hammer. But there's a lawyer on the other side of it, and he's telling you why he's not guilty for beating his girlfriend to death with a claw hammer. That's what lawyers do, see? They argue, and they can argue both sides. And so you say, how can that be right? Well, it can't be right. I mean, in almost all issues, there's a side that's right or correct or true, and there's a side that isn't any of those things. But lawyers, that's what they learn to do. They learn to argue both sides. Doesn't matter. They argue for the side that they're being paid to argue for. So I just said that to tell you not to argue with them. Well, he asked me a question, this lawyer did, when I said something about, I don't even remember what brought it up, but I said God's big. Guys, I mean, I'm here to tell you, God is really big. And he said, if you knew him, it's not going to surprise you, just like him. He was trying to provoke something in me. He said, really? He said, how big? And I said, big. Bigger than we can imagine. He said, bigger than Oprah? Yeah, he's bigger than Oprah. That's what I said, he's bigger than Oprah. I didn't want to get into any kind of discussion with him. I'd seen him argue with too many people, and he could, even in an argument about something I'm not passionate about, he'd probably make me look like a fool. I don't like looking like a fool. And I don't like it that I can't present an argument or a proof that there is a God. I don't like that. That doesn't change the fact that I know it. I think I'm going to end this here, and this isn't what this video was going to be about when I started either. I was going to say a few things, say how big God was, but I wasn't going to go all around that like I have. I was going to tell you about a man named Jordan Peterson, who I discovered not too long ago. I'm still going to tell you about him just a little bit, but that's it. I'm not going to tell you about him like I told you about Jamie Johnson. I'm going to tell you there is a man named Jordan Peterson, and he is, I watched him struggle with that same question that I got. He wanted to believe in God, but he couldn't prove it to himself to the satisfaction of his intellect. He couldn't prove God. And he don't like that. He likes to water things around and look at them from every angle and determine what's what and what's truth and what's not. And his problem with God is he couldn't get it to that place. He knows there's a God, though. You can watch him struggle with it. He knows there is. Probably not going to say more about him. I just was introduced to him a month or two ago. A friend of mine called me and he said, I've been watching your Sunday morning videos. He said, you've been reading Jordan Peterson. And I said, well, I'm glad you're watching my videos, but I never heard of this Jordan Peterson guy. He said, well, he wrote a book called 12 Rules for Life or something like that. So I looked him up on YouTube and I started watching him. And the guy's so much smarter. I mean, he is so much, I don't know that he's smarter than me, but he is informed. He has knowledge. He thinks in great depth, and he tries to assimilate everything that he can to look at every issue he deals with from every possible aspect. He makes some people mad. They think he's against them. He's not against anybody. He's for truth. He's for truth and making the world a better place and helping you improve yourself. And I'm old and I thought I couldn't, probably improve anymore. And I knew I needed some improvement, but I'd given up on trying to improve until I started listening to him. And he is really smart and really knowledgeable. And I don't know how he ever gets any rest. I know how his mind works. Mine does that sometimes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll start thinking about something. And I might start thinking about it being this weekend. There's going to be a yard sale I want to go to. And I might go from yard sale to space travel to nuclear physics to growing tomatoes and just cover all kinds of things with my mind racing and everything linking together like the Kevin Bacon game. And I might do that for hours. And it all links together and it all makes sense, and in the end I come back to some conclusion about lots of different things. Boy, he does that with deep, deep subjects and knowledge vastly superior to mine. I'm Luke, Hard Times guy. I think I've wore out the hard time subjects today. I think I'll go over and cut me a slice of that upside down blueberry and raisin cornbread that I made a while ago. Experiment I've been thinking about, and so I did it today. Jiffy cornbread in an iron skillet and blueberries and raisins and brown sugar and butter. That's about all that's in it. Just something I dreamed up and thought I'd try. It's sitting over there cooling. What I licked off the knife from where I turned it upside down, pretty good. You have a nice day.